Welcome to Go Kaiju Show, where we have a healthy obsession with kaiju. I'm your co-host, Kent, and with me is your other co-host,
Jason. How's it going, peeps?
And so my final thoughts and letter grade on the birth of Japan. Oh, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, we just started.
Okay. So most of you, if you follow us at all on social media, probably have already seen, and Jason's kind of behind on posting these videos for the moment. So this will probably come about the time we're ready to come back.
Well, I do at least have one episode ready to go, which is 213. But by the time that this is up, that's already been up. So
yeah, we are going on a hiatus for a bit. This hiatus is to help us work on and update the website. And not only that, we're trying to do more of a planning as far as kind of what the future schedule for us is going to be. We're not necessarily saying we're going to be beholden to that, but because we're kind of at a point where we're getting into not just TV shows more, but even more obscure stuff, probably more Western oriented material. We're really wanting to take some time to assess certain material that we think would be appropriate for the show.
Also dive into some of the Chinese films too, because I know we've talked about it.
And that too. And it's to assess things. It's to kind of, in some ways, plan things out and a way for us to sort of map out things for us in terms of planning. Because what we're going to do, like with shows, and I have a few shows on this tentative schedule that I made here about a month ago, is sort of some ideas as far as when for Jason and I to start watching some of these shows and kind of when we will potentially discuss them on the show as well. So it's kind of more of a thing to kind of help us out a little bit to sort of not just figure out what content to cover, but to start planning on, okay, if we're going to do a show, this is about when we should start it. So that way at this future date, we can actually be ready to discuss it. So I've got a tentative schedule that, depending upon how things work out with this hiatus and then Dorkface here being gone for a little bit too, at some point next year.
Yeah, going to Japan there.
Our schedule is going to run us into anywhere from like late next year, if not the earlier part of 2027. There could be changes along the way. We're not sharing any of that. We will only share certain things that are going to be more immediate because obviously that's the most important stuff. Well, so
we aren't doing this live anymore. So, I mean, there's really no
show. Yeah, you don't need to know anything else. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. I think, too, Jason and I need a little bit of a break as well. We did kind of sort of have a break here recently, but that was more because I traveled to Iowa. My family and I traveled to Iowa, so we kind of had a small hiatus there. But I think this hiatus, it's mainly for us to work on the site because there's some things that just haven't been updated and need updating for a while. And it's also to kind of start mapping out kind of what we're looking at moving forward for the next year or so.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why.
Yeah, and just sort of kind of, I would say, reset a little bit, because I know for some time I've been one to change a different video platform and all that stuff, because I know Ken's talked about it off air, and I know I've seen it from time to time, but I just don't really mention about it. But I know like sometimes video kind of freezes up and sometimes the audio can be a little bit messed up.
That'd be funny if right there as you said that both your video and audio froze.
well it's like for some reason on my end when we're doing these recordings, my video quality is perfect and all that stuff, but then when I download the video format and all that stuff, it's different compared to what
I've been trying to tell you that. I'm like, because there are times on my end where I see some of your video or hear your audio. I'm like, something isn't coming in quite clear. And you're like, no, it's fine on my end. I'm like, no, dude, like watch the final product on YouTube.
But yeah, so gonna try doing a different video platform, try to get back to Streamlabs desktop, and then kind of do a little bit more video graphic kind of organize things a little bit here and there, and website updates and everything. So yes, it'll be kind of a nice little refresh for at least a few months until we get back.
Yeah, and there's the possibility we could come back sooner depending upon how all this updating and planning works out. But right now we're kind of shooting for the first part of November. There's no set date right now, but I would just say for right now, it's sometime in the first half of November is kind of what we're shooting for. Obviously, if anything changes, whether we have to extend the hiatus or we're going to come back sooner, we'll let everyone know through social media to the one person that listens to our show. So that way, you know kind of what's going on and kind of what we're covering. As of right now, we have no clue as to what we're covering when we come back. I had some ideas, but Jason and I haven't discussed it yet. So that's something we're going to discuss kind of in the coming months as well. So, so let's just kind of proceed here, Jason, the usual.
Yeah, if you see a subscribe button down below, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you listen to us via audio versions of our podcasts, such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening from us, make sure to subscribe there, as well as give us a 5-star rating. And you can watch and listen to both video and audio versions of our own episodes at our own website at gogokaijushow.com.
All right, so let's talk about the movie in question here. We are discussing 1959's The Three Treasures, or the original title as it's known by in Japan, The Birth of Japan, produced by Toho Studios. And this is definitely, there isn't a ton of background information, at least here in the West, on this movie. I could immediately tell within the first few moments this was Japan's attempt at a Ten Commandments style epic.
Yeah. And then also I just want to add in there that for other international countries out there, this film is also known as Age of the Gods. And there's also a trimmed down version of this film. The original runtime for this was 182 minutes, so just over 3 hours. The edited version is just an hour, 112 minutes.
So just under 2 hours. I'm kind of curious because the English title is The Three Treasures, and I could only figure out two treasures that our main character, played by Toshiro Mifune, Yamato Takeru, had, because he had this special gift, which turned out to be 2 pieces of flint and a sword that he was only supposed to take out to defend himself. I don't remember what the third treasure is, like how the English distributors figured that out.
I'm probably guessing, like what you said, the 2 things of flint. So there's 2. Then the sword.
I'm just going to say, regardless, it's a dumb title, like, for the English. It really is, because in many respects, The Birth of Japan is a little bit more accurate than The Three Treasures. And even then, I still don't think the title Birth of Japan is totally accurate either.
Yeah, because mainly it's about the origins of the Shintoism religion.
Yeah. The first, I don't know, I would just say roughly 10 minutes, it does kind of deal with the creation of Japan. But then after that, it's more of a story about Yamato Takeru and, his story. Mm-hmm. So this is a movie that I personally had heard about off and on for a number of years, had been totally wanting to see. I thought I had a physical copy of this film, and I was searching frantically in my collection of Japanese films, and I'm like, well, shit, I don't actually have one. So then I'm asking Jason, like, oh man, I thought I had a physical copy. I don't. Do you remember the link to the actual film so I can watch it online? So he provided the link.
Yeah, there's one available over at Internet Archives.
And I have to say, this is the full film. This is the full 3-hour film. We did not watch the edited version. I will say this, though. I wished I watched the edited version.
I would like to see how the 112-minute one goes, because I know there were some parts in this film, I know we'll get into it soon, that seemed like it drug on for a little bit, and it just, yeah, it also, although it didn't feel like the 3 hours, but it just seemed like in some instances things drug out a little bit too much.
I think you're right in that it didn't feel like 3 hours. It felt like 2 lifetimes. So yeah, that's a little more accurate. Let's just kind of get into the film. I love the fact that there are a lot of familiar faces, Toho actor faces, that are involved in this film. You have Aki Hirata, Kumi Mizuno, Akira Takarada, Akira Kubo. There are a few others whose names I don't know off the top of my head, because these guys, I do
remember the faces.
Yes, they usually play minor characters in some of the Toho Godzilla / non-Godzilla kaiju films. So it was really great to see those. Oh, Takashi Shimura's in here. Jun Tazaki's in here.
Yeah.
So it was great to see all that. Eiji Tsuburaya does the effects work. Akira Ifukube does the score. Some of his music here, though, is very reminiscent of what I've heard from Gojira. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But the music's good, but...
Yeah, the one thing that I want to mention is that although we do see Akira Takarada in here, but as far as when I was watching it, it didn't seem like I couldn't really find him at all. Maybe it was during the times where I was maybe doing some stuff here on the computer last night while I had the film going, but I do remember seeing Akira Kubo at least maybe 1 or 2 shots within the film, and he was kind of out of the picture completely for the remainder of the film.
So I was wanting to wait just a little bit on this, but since you brought it up, we might as well dive into it. Actors like Takarada and Kubo are actually kind of mentioned within like the upper half of the cast when you watch the credits starting the film. But yeah, no, you did not imagine it. They are really not in this film. They were probably on set for half a day, if that. Mm-hmm. And I find it to be really a complete disservice to those actors, those great actors, that they're not really in it. And it's like, use their talent. These guys, even at that time in late 59, I know quite a few of them were not established just yet, but they already proved themselves in some ways. Like Takarada did it with Gojira, that they can act and they are good actors. And yet you have them in here for 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say it could be the same for Jun Tazaki, but complete opposite.
He plays a little bit more.
But it's like, I don't quite remember seeing his name at the beginning of like showing all the cast, but then he was in it prominently, I think, in the second half of the intermission. He's in there quite a bit. He was at least maybe one of the important people in that particular sequence where was it Mifune's character was at this village and then gets set up by Jun Tazaki's men and everything. So that was kind of one of the important scenes in that film.
Yeah. So
with that whole 2 things of Flint, with that whole burning wildfire in the field.
Let's just kind of for those who maybe are not familiar with the movie or just need a refresher, let's just try to put everything in context as far as what the movie's about. So the movie opens up basically with sort of Japan's mythology as far as how the country got created and all that. And then we move into Yamato Takeru's story. And then at another point, there is a sun goddess and her brother story interlude. Then it goes back to Takeru for a moment. Then it goes back to the sun goddess because she closed herself off because her brother Susano, who's also played by Mifune, killed one of her ponies, and so she's upset. So she hit herself. Therefore, there was no sun for a while in the history of Japan. So the mythology says. And then the other gods, played by various actors, have some weird dance, laughter moment that bring her out. Sunshine comes back to Japan, and then the rest is about Yamato Takeru, who is being taken off onto 2 missions. One mission is to go to the west to fight and kill the Kumaso brothers, which he does. And then he comes back, and the emperor tells him to now go to the east to kill, I forget the name, but it doesn't matter. So he's to go off and kill someone else. And then we find out very late in the film that what ends up happening is there are a few, for lack of a better term, underlings to the emperor who set Takeru up to try to kill him. The thing is that this movie's writing is terrible. It really is terrible because there's no motive from the villains as to why they're doing this. Mm-hmm. None whatsoever. And I knew immediately when we first see Mifune in front of his father, the emperor, within the first handful of minutes of the movie, that I'm like, his father is not the villain of this movie. Someone else is. Someone that works for the emperor is. Because not only have I seen this story a bunch of times in other films, the way it's written and just sort of the way it's shot and how the actors themselves play that scene, I'm like, his father is not the villain of this movie. It's someone else. And I just have to say, too, because since we're already sort of in it, we're kind of talking about the story and stuff. The way this movie ends, Mifune ends up being killed because the writers decided plot armor needs to be taken off. And so they actually kill him. Somehow, again, through no context or even hints throughout the earlier part of the film, his soul, I guess, becomes a bird, a white bird, a dove. We'll just say a dove.
Or maybe a crane.
Something like that. And it comes back to his, home village, and then it flies away through a rainbow to some distant city in the clouds. We never, and his brothers are Akira Kubo and Akira Takarada in this movie. We do not see anything else happen to his village or sort of what the next line of succession is.
Or whatever happens to the guys that killed one of his brothers there.
They were killed by the volcano.
Well, I know, kind of the head guy who was kind of one of the right-hand guys or something for the emperor there. I'm not sure. I forget his name. But where they were on the footsteps there, one of the brothers was hiding.
Right.
Where Mifune's character kind of choked him at the beginning of the film, and he stabbed him to death. We don't really see. I don't ever remember seeing anything of him being killed within the movie, but I do know some of the army guys that were kind of under his wing, following his orders. I know that they were killed by the volcano, and then waves of water and all that stuff.
Yeah, the volcano and the water takes all the bad guys out there in the end. That's what that's supposed to be. But we never see anything of the emperor as far as his response to hearing his son, his successor, dying. Mm-hmm. We don't know what happens to the emperor. We don't know what happens to his brothers or what the line of succession is and all that. This movie, as we have already alluded to, is very poorly paced. It at times does move kind of brisk, but the parts that move brisk are the parts that should slow down, and the parts that are slowed down should be brisk, if not eliminated altogether. There is a lot of nothing that really goes on and a lot of unimportant things that go on. Character development in this movie is terrible. Again, like I said, Emperor, the other brothers and stuff, nothing at the end of the movie as far as kind of, okay, what happened after Yamato was killed and kind of what happened to that clan. The Kumi Mizuno character, Azami, and her lover, Yakumo, I think was his name.
Yeah.
They serve no purpose. And again, that's a damn shame. It's like the Takarada Kubo incident. Great actress, serves no purpose in this film. Neither does Yakumo. Yakumo is there with Mifune till kind of the end, but even then, he's just some random face that sticks around with Mifune until they get split up at the end, and then Mifune's killed. But Mizuno's character and her lover serve no purpose in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a movie where it was the most expensive movie to produce in Japan at the time, and it's very easy to see that. Production value is high. Like the settings, the effects work, the actors, that stuff is all gold. But substance, nothing.
Yeah, because I was looking at the budget for this movie, and at the time it was 250 million yen, which translates into $1 million. But as far as the box office, it made, I would say, nearly 100 million yen more off of that. And like what you said, it was one of the most profitable film of that year and the second highest grossing film of year 1959
for Japan. Yeah. It's a damn shame because I heard so many good things about this, but you know what? As I've said before on this podcast, the kaiju fandom has told me a lot of movies are good in the past, and I come to find out that usually most of the time those films are either terrible or mediocre. This is a film that because the effects are really good and the setting and the set design are really good, I'm going to say it's mediocre. But otherwise, it's not a good film. This is a boring-ass film. It really is. And having an edit of a film that's just under 2 hours should tell you something. That's other people said, look, this is too long. This needs to be cut. Would this movie be better? Shortened down? Absolutely.
That's why I would like to at least see the 100. I was a little over an hour, 30-minute version of the edited version and see if it does things a bit better compared to the original version.
And I would say that other than the initial mythology that is shown to us as far as kind of how Japan came to be, none of the other mythology stuff matters. It doesn't. I've heard for years about this whole Orochi 8-headed dragon stuff, and I'm like, okay, great, awesome, let's see it.
You only
that
see
happens in the middle of the movie.
Minutes.
Yeah, it happens in the middle of the movie. The effects shot are good, but the fight is unimaginable and dull as shit because Mifune does this the whole time. We don't really, other than a couple of stab shots to the tail, a nice big prop of the tail, mind you, which is really cool. He just does this. And he even though like shifts around on this set within a space of about 20 feet, and he kind of goes back and forth and just does this. Unimaginative.
And it's also funny that they show it pretty prominently within the theatrical release poster for The Birth of Japan. We're just kind of centered maybe up above a little bit from the two main characters.
And there's a reason why, because I started thinking about this more after I watched the movie. I go, again, this is the Godzilla fandom more than anything else that have hyped this movie up over the years. And then I started thinking, I'm going, but you know what? The general film community never has. They propped up Seven Samurai, and there's a reason why, but not this movie.
I wonder if a lot of these guys have mentioned about this film. I wonder if they've only seen maybe the edited version, where it could be perhaps better, but as far we would have to ask them if they've seen either the edited version or the original full version.
Even then, while I think in some respects it would help with the pacing issue, it can't help you with characters, because even in this original 3-hour film, in a movie that is that long, your character work is worse than movies that I've seen that are an hour and a half. There's something wrong there, and it's in the writing. And sure, maybe the pacing can help offset some of that and maybe make you feel more entertained, but that's just polishing a turd. And it doesn't help. And like I was saying, a lot other than the initial mythology that opens up the movie, none of the other mythology matters. It doesn't even parallel our hero's story. And please, like, if someone out there thinks otherwise, please let us know, like on the Facebook page or in the comments under this video, because I tried so hard to try to be like, okay, are there parallels here? Does this somehow match up with our character's story? No, none of it matters.
I would say the only thing that sort of ties these stories, legends or stories, to the cast here would have to be the main guy, Yamato Takeru and Susanoo, because I know his Yamato's aunt was kind of saying, you kind of reminded me a little bit of Susanoo. Anyway,
that's terrible.
That's the only thing that I know of that they sort of tied the story with one of the cast members.
And that's stupid, because it's never really shown throughout the course of the movie, and it basically has to be told to us. And that basically tells me it doesn't matter, because there is no 8-headed dragon, so to speak, that Takeru fights. There's not, for example, 8 generals from his dad's underlings that are coming after him that he has to fight to sort of represent, metaphorically speaking, Orochi, like the Susanoo character had to go up against. Nothing. And I hate the fact, because I was hoping we would get slower into the discussion about this sort of thing, but no, we're starting off right away where it's like, no, this movie, in terms of its substance, sucks. Like, we're just coming in, it's like, let's talk about the birth of Japan. It sucks. So, like,
that's a little bit different compared to what you messaged me yesterday. Although you said that the beginning sort of sucked, but then you said it got better and all that.
You know what I did? I was telling you the truth initially, and then I remembered when I think it was Shin Kamen Rider and how I just verbally diarrheaed all over it to you over Messenger, and I'm like, oh crap, no, like, he knows what I'm thinking as I'm coming into this. I'm going to go the exact opposite. So the me saying it was good was me trying to course correct and to get you to think differently as far as what I was, because I wanted to shock and surprise you coming into this. Be like, well, wait a minute, you said it was good. Like, and now you're telling me it sucks? Like, it's like, no, I thought the whole thing
sucked. you bait and switched me.
I did. Never going to give you up. But yeah. Like
Rick Astley on me.
Yeah, I wish. Look, I'm not the most clever person, because, like I said, I was hoping that with this discussion we would slowly get into the problems of the movie, like maybe make the audience think that, hey, this movie's okay or it's good, and then finally be like, no, it sucks. No, we come swinging and saying it sucks. But here's the thing. The effects work, by and large, is really, really good here.
Speaking of which, I want to point this out, like towards the end with the whole volcano thing. I really liked when that whole lava thing gets to the people. I like how individually he uses like this sort of effects of when people or something get like touch the lava. It has this little spark or flame or something. That like for I don't know how many people that were on the screen that it goes one by one. It's like it was for that time. I would say it was pretty damn good.
It was really good. The only gripe that I have is the smoke coming out of Mount Fuji. That was not done well, and it was coming off more of the side of the peak, which
I kind of noticed that too. It's like, why is it coming out from kind of the side instead of kind of the usual top? I know I get sometimes there's been some volcanoes that may have done that in the past
during eruptions.
During eruptions, or maybe sometimes they'll kind of go at different angles instead of straight from the top and all that stuff. But I don't know if they did this on purpose or if they are trying to do it kind of a more accurate when one of the times that Fuji erupted during those times. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's my only gripe. I'm not going to hold that against Tsuburaya because everything else is really good. That's just the only thing where I'm like, no. But speaking of garbage in this movie, like this second gal that comes in the second half of the movie after Yamato banishes Odo Tochibana, or no, she basically says she hates Yamato. This Princess Owari comes in, initially thought he was a bad dude, tries to kill him, but then they fall in love. And after a short bit, she disappears and is never seen again. That's another problem too. She ends up coming into the movie and you're thinking, okay, like she in some ways is going to play sort of a big part in this movie as well. But again, character work and development in this movie is bad. And can I just say here, a lot of people are probably out there thinking, Kent, man, like you've been ripping a new one into everything you guys have been covering basically since the start of this year. Maybe the problem is you. I'm going to say, no, it's not. It is not me.
I know that you mentioned in previous episodes that we need to get away from some of these bad movies or shows and all that stuff, but we somehow wind up into some of these situations.
And I made apologies to the original Kamen Rider after we watched Shin Kamen Rider. I'm like, my apologies. Like that still doesn't, that still doesn't give the original Kamen Rider a pass for some of its terrible decisions. But the original Kamen Rider compared to Shin Kamen Rider looks like gold. And I legitimately thought coming into this, in fact, I think I even mentioned this on the last episode when we were closing that out and saying we were going to do it for this episode, that I really had high hopes for this because I had heard for years, more specifically from Kaiju fans, that this was a good movie. And I just have to say to all you Kaiju fans out there, screw you, man. You guys have turned me down a wrong path so many times. I had heard for years like Gijo the Three-Headed Monster was a great movie. I'm like, nah, it's fine, but it's pretty subpar in a lot of ways. And then I heard for years, Destroy All Monsters, man, and like it's one of the grandest things. And I remember we saw that movie. We couldn't wait to get home and to watch it. I go home and watch it. I'm like, this is mediocre as fuck, dude. Like this is you and then all you guys out there somehow love Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla, speaking of which, just had a recent 4K run as of this recording. And I'm just like, man, you guys love mediocrity and just awfulness. Like, you guys got to shut your mouths because you guys keep saying, this is good, this is good. It's like, no, it's not.
I would say for us, I would say in the future that we should probably go into things that we haven't seen before, sort of middle of the road.
Well, I do with like brand new stuff, like New Empire, for example, because there isn't like a history behind it. Like it's a brand new thing getting ready to come out. New Empire is significantly better than this, for sure. I don't care what anyone thinks, but it's not me. It's the material. Because I went in with high hopes for this film. I knew going into Shin Kamen Rider, because I had heard grumblings from a few other podcasts that one was not so great, that I'm like, oh boy, I didn't realize how terrible it was though until I actually watched it.
Well, and from what we've seen in that 5-minute preview, I would say a couple or so years back, where they were showing all the gory, bloody parts, I was like, I don't know.
I knew that was a bad sign. Yeah. I'm like, no, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it's like I don't think Kamen Rider back then would have done something like that.
Yeah.
And when we went through that original one, it's like, yeah, he did not do that at all. Except maybe like the first 2 episodes when they were kind of building things up, but otherwise he didn't do that throughout the remainder of the series there.
And to prove that it's not me and it's the material, and Jason can vouch for me on this. I know I have not talked about this on this podcast, but I talked to him about it back in March or April. Back in March, I started rewatching most of the Godzilla series, other Toho, Kaiju films, and a few other Gamera films. And I told Jason then, I'm like, man, I miss watching and talking about these films so much that I might create sort of a sub show on our YouTube channel where it's called something like Kent Revisits, and then insert movie title here. And it would just be me by myself, and I would talk about like Mothra versus Godzilla again. And Jason can vouch for me. I was having a good time. For a month and a half, I went back and rewatched a bunch of films, including all the eras. Showa, Heisei, Millennium. Obviously, GMK and Shin Godzilla were not a part of that month and a half viewing because, they suck. But I know. Otherwise, I was having fun.
But I know if you do decide to do that, I know you're going to have to revisit those 2 films one of these times.
I don't have to. I do not have to. It says in my contract, I don't have to. That's optional.
Where is this sick contract?
It's in my pocket, and I'm not going to bother showing you it. Wait a minute. Here, I'll show you. There it is. No.
That guy reminds me of the one Japanese Instagram comedian.
We're totally not talking about Birth of Japan right now. But no, seriously, and I think this, and I know we're off on a tangent, not talking about 3 treasures, and I think that's okay. This, I think, is going to be sort of the problem for us moving forward, is that with some exceptions, I think some of those exceptions are going to be some of the shows we're going to watch and some of the other movies, like let's just say, for example, and I don't know if we will cover it or not, but like 20 Million Miles to Earth, for example. I think we're venturing into territory where there's going to be a lot of negativity, perhaps, because look, we've seen snippets of some of this Chinese stuff, and it's not good either. Think of Sci-Fi Channel quality stuff.
It's like pretty much we're going to be ruining our health.
We are going to ruin our health. So if you enjoy seeing us in agony and just complaining, the future looks pretty bright for you. So like I said, this is why we're making a schedule. Plus, I have some commentaries on that schedule. Getting back to the 3 treasures, though, you know what? Let's go into final thoughts and ratings, and let's just kind of talk about like the future. There's really nothing else to talk about here. It's a big disappointment.
Why don't you go ahead, kind of get your rant?
I thought about writing something down and I didn't, and I wished I would have now, because I had some great organized thoughts that would have really illustrated in a very serious way sort of this movie, my thoughts on it, my expectations, and how this movie just is terrible. This movie is not anywhere near close to the 10 Commandments. I would argue that if it's anywhere near close to the 10 Commandments, it's in the set design and the special effects. In its storytelling and character work, it is not. And I watched the 10 Commandments a handful of months ago for the very first time all the way through. The 10 Commandments is not perfect, but it is darn close. The only real problem I have with 10 Commandments is that it seems like kind of the second half, especially after Moses parts the Red Sea and they get to this island and then he ends up talking to God. It seems like kind of that section of the film speeds up more than it should. But by and large, a vast majority of that movie, there is no wasted material. Everything matters. Character work is exceptional. It legitimately is one of the finest epics ever filmed. It is a legitimately stellar film. Not perfect, but it is darn close.
Yeah. I want to mention that the 10 Commandments, there's actually two versions of the film. One was made in 1923 and the other is 1956.
Charlton
Heston version. Both of them have been directed by the same guy.
I do remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the Charlton Heston, obviously. Yeah. That's a 3-hour movie too. And like I said, nothing about that movie is wasteful. Everything matters. And if something seems slow, it's probably a character development moment where they have Moses and or surrounding characters being developed. Like I said, not perfect, but it is darn close. It's an incredible film. Yeah, 3 hours is a long time to invest in a movie. Okay, I understand that. But that is a terrific film in every sense of the word. Birth of Japan is not. There are a lot of loose ends. There's a lot of potential here with this film. The problem is that the writers and the director suck at their job. They do a complete disservice to the audience by not wrapping up character stories, not developing characters, period, and not showing us post-death of Yamato Takeru as to what happens to his father, what happens to his brothers, how come those villains didn't shank and kill the emperor. Why is it that very, very late in the movie, like literally within the final 20 minutes, that we find out who the real villains are of this movie? There are just issues galore with this film in terms of its writing. And it's a damn shame because the movie does look gorgeous. It is a gorgeously looking film. Costume, set design, effects work, I mean, you name it. Gorgeous. Absolutely well done. But the substance is not there. And that's what's so terribly disappointing about this, because I kind of figured going in, maybe this is their 10 Commandments kind of film. And then I realized within the first few moments, I'm like, okay, yeah, this actually is kind of their 10 Commandments type film. But it is not a 10 Commandments type of level film. Call it an epic. It's a crappy epic. And I wished I would have written stuff down, my thoughts, because I had pitch perfect stuff that I had. It's disappointing. It's disappointing to go through more than half of this year with stuff that has been so frustrating to watch. And I can understand with the original Kamen Rider series that they were probably on a very tight shooting schedule, next to nothing budget. Like, I can understand severe limitations involving,
along with Spectre Man.
Yeah, but Spectre Man was last year.
Yeah.
So that's pretty understandable. Shin Kamen Rider was a complete and utter. What was my rating? FTS.
Yeah.
That's as low as you can go. This movie I expected more because I love Showa era Toho, and movie Takarada, Kubo, Shimura, and to them. Uh-oh. I would even argue Mifune, who is the main character and obviously is more. Mifune is a great actor, but even for a 3-hour film like this, I don't think he looks as good as what he does in some of his samurai films. Mm-hmm. In a movie like Rashomon, which is an hour and a half, he's a lot better because he's better directed. Kurosawa
or the Yojimbo or Hidden Fortress, some of those.
I haven't seen all those all the way through, so I can't comment on that. But I'm sure it's better.
Yeah, the Yojimbo and Sanjuro samurai films, those are really good. I would recommend watching those.
And writing and directing matters. And it's so disappointing because I love the actors involved. I love a lot of the crew involved with this film. But the end result, I kid you not, I started peering at my watch many times through over the course of this movie. The first time I looked at my watch, I thought, oh, I have to be an hour into this movie. No, I was 35 minutes in. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to suck.
And then with the one kind of screen where it has that intermission and then part two, I paused it for a little bit when I was doing some other things, and then I looked at the little time squabble thing. It wasn't even at the halfway point. I was like, are you kidding me?
I watched the timestamp so many times over the course of this movie, and I'm disappointed, guys. If you like this movie, more power to you, but this movie sucks. It really does. It's great to look at, but effects work and set design only get you so far. If the pacing and the rest of the substance doesn't catch up to some of the quality of the effects work, it doesn't matter. I enjoy movies where the effects work is really not that good, but the pacing and the story are at least exciting enough to where I feel engaged, and I love it. Call that a schlocky movie, and it probably is. But I like schlocky movies because they're fun. They engage me. This engaged me initially because of, the movie starts off. It's like, okay, I'm giving this movie a shot. And then I realized after that first 35 minutes, when I first looked at the timestamp, I realized I was in trouble unless this movie were to quickly turn itself around. And then once we got to the Orochi part, I knew I was doomed because I looked at the timestamp and I said, there's no way they're putting this in the middle of their movie. Like, this is something you want to end your movie on, not something you want to put in the middle of your movie or sooner. And I knew by then, I knew I was not going to give this a good grade. At that point, I wasn't giving it a good grade, but I thought, okay, there's still enough movie left it can recover. And then that showed up. And I said, nope, this movie can never recover at this point. It saddens me. It really does. 2025 on this podcast has not been fun. And it saddens me because I went in with high
probably our worst year yet.
This is our worst year so far in covering a bunch of stuff.
15 years.
And I'm going to have to look. But at the same time, this was inevitable because now we're hitting really weird and obscure stuff. We've been done with Godzilla for a while. We've been done with Gamera, War of the Gargantuas, all that stuff for a while, which is why I want to do Kent Revisits, because I needed something for my mental health.
Well, it's like with the Godzilla stuff, already gone through that stuff twice, because I know you said you wanted to redo all the way up
the first
the show and the Heisei ones.
Yeah, what was it, like the first 16 movies? Because I thought from Gojira to 2000, I didn't think our initial shows were that good.
Yeah, those are like our first season stuff.
Yeah, but to try to do the best as I can to wrap this up, I did go in high hopes. Because again, I believe the damn fans. They're just like, oh yeah, it's great. Orochi and stuff. I'm like, okay. I walked out and I said, look, this is a very good looking movie. Very good looking movie. This is arguably the best looking Showa era Toho film or Showa era Japanese film I have ever seen. It's tremendously well done in that regard. But where it matters most, it fails utterly. And that's shocking because this was supposed to be their big epic. This was the 1000th Toho film. This was, at the time, the most expensive movie. This was supposed to be the movie. And it's not. As I stated earlier, there is a reason why cinephiles still talk about Seven Samurai today, but they don't talk about Birth of Japan. There's a reason for that. Because, like all those cinephiles, professional film critics, film students, film historians, The Birth of Japan, despite how good it looks, just isn't a good story. It's not. Too many loose ends, bad character development, non-existent character development. It's not that good. Scenes of gods, like the sun goddess, what was all that supposed to mean? None of it matters. None of it parallels any character story in this film. It doesn't matter. And again, I'm deeply disappointed. Good looking movie, but otherwise not great. If it weren't for the effects, I would give this movie an F easily. But because the effects are pretty darn good, that kind of ups it a bit. But I highly recommend that you do not see this movie. It is not worth your time. I would not even recommend seeking out the shorter version. It is not worth your time. You will be disappointed. So my final grade for this, and it's only because the effects work kind of propped it up a bit, I'm giving it a D. The effects are that good to where it props it up from an F to a D. But otherwise, it's an F as far as story and engagement, entertainment level. Like, it's terrible. Wow. And that saddens me. I will never, and I'm glad I don't own a physical copy, because if I did, I would have thrown it away.
Yeah. So you pretty much were frantically trying to look for all for nothing.
I thought of that too. I'm like, you know what? It's a good thing I don't actually have a physical copy, because I would have been like, this is stupid.
Yeah. But just like you, as far as the first handful of minutes with this film, it sort of dragged on and not really a whole lot going on. It's sort of tied into a little bit with as far as some of the stories and all that, how Japan was created and all that stuff. I sort of thought, like, I thought it was going to be some kind of Genesis type of thing where it kind of goes through over the years, you know. I mean, they were kind of, it sort of looked like it, but then it was just pretty much a story being told by an older woman. I'm talking about the beginning part where they were, as far as creating Japan and all that. It sort of was slow at first story-wise, and then it sort of picked up, I would think, as soon as the intermission sign is showing, and then showing part 2, and then kind of went from there. As far as some of the characters in here, I was kind of looking forward to a lot of the well-known ones like Akira Kubo, Takarada, and Kumi Mizuno. But then it was like, I don't think I've ever seen Takarada in here at all. When I had this, and I mentioned that I've only seen Akira Kubo once or twice in here. And then as far as Kumi Mizuno, I think I've only seen her once. And that was it. She was
in a few scenes, but still not enough.
But as far as from what I've seen, it seemed like I've only seen her once in this entire movie. It was a bit disappointing overall, just not really seeing much of those familiar faces, except for Jun Tazaki later on, where he sort of sets up Mifune's Yamato Takeru character there, and then gets killed off. The visual effects and then the sets are really good in this film. Like I explained with that whole volcano scene towards the end, with it being really good visual effects for that time period. And then the Orochi miniaturette or marionette, that one is really good. But then as far like what you said, the execution of that, like it just didn't really didn't go very well. It was just only there for a few minutes, even though that they have the Orochi prominent on the movie poster itself, just above the two main characters of this film. And just showing that and just showing it like kind of in the middle of the film just for a few minutes, to me, it just almost is like a disservice or a bait and switch sort of thing. And then
it's a lie. Let's just call it what it is. It's a lie.
And then with it being just over 3 hours, it's like it felt like when you were watching some of it, it drug out some of the scenes a little bit too much. But at the same time, it didn't feel like the 3 hours.
2 lifetimes.
In some instances. But I don't know how much of a difference between the original one here that we just saw and the edited version. How much of a difference would that make? But yeah, the story and then the story elements, like we don't even know whatever happens to kind of the main right hand guy to the Emperor that killed off one of Yamato's brothers that we've seen at the beginning of the film, where he chokes him and all that, where he stabs him and all. We don't know the result of that guy, and kind of what you said, we don't know what happens with the succession and yada yada.
Succession.
It just sort of abruptly ends with Yamato's soul flying as a crane or bird, whichever, and then going off to this shining city in the clouds or something with rainbows, and then the end.
Surprised there weren't damn Care Bears there.
Yeah. And then having all the villagers kind of going with the bird. So I don't really know what that entails. I don't know if it's supposed to find like present day Tokyo or something or what have you. So there's a lot of questions to this film.
By the way, did Akihito Harada and some of his men abandon him because they made it home safe? The only way they could have done that is by running away. And I'm just throwing that out there, but
well, I think he wanted. Well, originally that Yamato was going to go somewhere else and all that, and have them return to the village. But I don't really know what actually happened. I thought all of them died when they were ambushed
thought so too.
There. But fortunately that they somehow are survived.
You know what? It's not worth it. Just continue with your final thought.
Like I said, there's a lot of questions to this movie that needed to be answered, and like what you said, that there are some inconsistencies with the story. But as far as the visual effects, the sets, the marionette to Orochi are really good. And then I would say as far as some of the characters in here were really good, but it would have been nice to have seen some more appearances to the more well-known faces that were supposedly advertised in this movie. But yeah, as far as the Three Treasures or the Birth of Japan or the Age of the Gods, I would have to give this movie, I'll go with a D+ on this one.
I had a fear you were gonna go there. I'm like, no.
I would say it's good in some areas, like I mentioned, but then there's a lot of questions to be answered, and then with some inconsistencies with the film as far as the story goes.
I think the shorter version will help some of the pacing issues, but it can't solve the substance issue. I guess it could, because it eliminates some of the stuff, but it doesn't help with character work. Like, if the character work wasn't good to begin with in your 3 hour long movie, cutting it down to just under 2 hours is still not going to help you in that area. So, yeah, sorry, folks. This has been a crappy year. I need to go over our tentative schedule to just sort of figure out kind of what we're looking at grabbing here.
And also just to lay low for a bit.
Well, you know what? And this was not planned. I didn't want to go out on our hiatus like this. I legitimately thought, I'm like, okay, like, you know, a 10 Commandments style movie. I like the 10 Commandments. Like, if this comes close to it, yeah, it's like finally something good. We'll go out on a high note. And nope.
Maybe next time we'll try to come back after our hiatus with something that we generally like or something of the sort.
Well, and this is something that I really, and I've said it before on this show, I pride us on, is that we are not one of those fans where it's like everything Toho craps out we think is gold, and that not everything that has kaiju in it we think is the greatest thing ever. There's so many fans out there like that. It drives me nuts because you can't have legitimate conversations about certain things out there. With us, it's like what you hear from us is what we genuinely think about something. So I know some people don't like that. Whatever, go somewhere else. I don't care.
We're not your usual yes man.
Yeah. So we're not shills. Yeah, we're not shills. The only shill we work for is us. We're selfish. Okay, it's about us, not you or Toho or anybody else. It's about us.
We sent for ourselves.
But in all seriousness, though, we hope you enjoyed the show nonetheless. We will be back in a few months, maybe a little bit sooner. Jason and I, we will continue to talk about scheduling and stuff like that. My goal for us by the time we get back is to have at least the rest of this year and maybe the first month or two of next year planned out. And we'll just kind of take everything from there.
Yeah. So again, if you're watching us from wherever, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and give us a thumbs up to the videos that we do. And if you're listening to us via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, make sure to give us a 5-star rating and a comment or whichever. And you can also listen to both video and audio versions of our episodes on our own website at GoGoKaijuShow.com.
We'll see you in a few months.
All right, guys. We'll catch you in the next video.